Hello, everyone. It's Fred Staub and Les Jackson. We are just getting primed and ready for a great 2 hours of automotive entertainment and information. We'll keep it entertaining. Les, you're always
We will,
entertaining, aren't you?
we will try to keep it entertaining. We are we are not we are humble, so we tell you when we make mistakes, which by the way is pretty frequently.
Yeah, I try to make one at least every hour. So
Yeah.
let's talk a little bit about what's coming up in hour one. We're going to talk about the head of Toyota kind of repeating his views that the future, at least at Toyota, is not all electric. It could be room for plug-in hybrids and hydrogen power and all kinds of things. So we'll talk about that. I think it's an interesting take. I think it's an honest take, really.
I think it is an honest take. As we do, we're trying to show perspective here that don't believe all the hype. Things are not happening overnight.
No, and
Right.
his concerns, and I think they're valid concerns, are infrastructure. The infrastructure is
Big
being
deal.
worked on, but it's not quite there yet, and chargers are not omnipresent. I like using that word
I like
omnipresent.
that. I like that word.
Yeah,
Ubiquitous would be.
ubiquitous. Yeah. Well, let's talk about the Ford Maverick, a vehicle that you drove. I have not had the chance yet.
Apparently, I'm the only one who's ever driven
Yeah,
one.
they do exist. Les says
Yeah.
they do actually exist. We're going to tell you about if you ticked all the boxes in the Maverick ordering configurator, uh, you would what you would cost you, and also we found a place where you can drive one if you've never driven one and you really want to. Drive one for 19.95 a day.
Yeah.
Can even
But
haul stuff with it if you
you
want.
probably have to put yourself on a big list.
Yeah. And what do you got?
Yeah. Well, we have a couple things. Kia has priced out the new Telluride, which you can't get one of those either.
We're just
'Cause,
unobtainium. That's what
well,
we're.
they can't build them fast enough. And then we have a talking tech about external airbags
Yeah.
for pedestrians. I'm visualizing a pedestrian being knocked across the sidewalk with a big balloon coming out. But
Or I think they're just going to save up all those things that come from Amazon, those
yeah,
air
all those
blisters, and
packing things. Yep.
yeah, just tape them to the front of your truck. What do you think about that?
I don't think that's going to work.
Okay, well, so we'll have that, and then you're going to review a very cool car.
Yep.
Uh,
The Mini SE Electric
okay, the Mini SE Electric, and
looked a lot like that.
looked a lot like that one. Um, and I love minis, and I've driven this. I think I drove it last summer. Range is not too big, is it?
No, it's actually rather bothersome, and I'll talk about that. But
Um,
but there's good news in the near future
I
on
thought
that.
it was fun to drive, and I
Oh,
kind
it's
of
a
the weird wheels kind of grew in me. I thought that is the weirdest wheel design I've ever seen.
and the yellow side lights, side mirrors,
Yeah, and there you
um,
are charging
weird.
it.
Many times.
Yeah. We'll talk about that, and yeah, their battery techno. Well, he's all charged up. Look at that.
Now that is a misleading ad.
I tell you, if you could charge electric cars that fast,
Yeah,
people would be, you know,
yep,
they'd be clamoring for them. They'd be like, just give me whatever you got. What's next? So,
exactly.
yeah, so we're not there yet. But we will be there with cruise control. So stay tuned. We're coming up in about a minute on the live show.
This is Cruise Control.
Your on-air automotive magazine with co-hosts Fred Staub and Les Jackson. Everything you need to know about new and used cars. Industry news. We'll fix or repair your car on the air. Fasten your seatbelts and let us take the wheel. Now, your ride is about to begin. Because you're on Cruise Control. Cruise Control. Cruise Control.
Welcome to everyone out there. You are indeed on Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. We're here every week. You know us. I'm Les Jackson. That guy is Fred Staub. And as usual, we have some good information. We have some interesting stories.
Yep.
We each have an At the Wheel review at the end of each hour.
That's true.
So, what do you think? Shall we buckle up and get rolling?
I say let's get rolling, Les, and we're going to start this hour with the head of Toyota repeating his view that the future is not necessarily all electric vehicles, that there's room for a range of power for future vehicles, including hydrogen and a whole lot more. So we'll tell you about that. I think it's an interesting and honest assessment of where we're at.
It is. It is. And how much will a fully loaded Maverick set you back if you could find one, which of course is a silly thought. We found a place that will let you rent one of these cheap for a day. It may not be the color choice you want.
That's true, and there may be a little advertising on the side.
There might be.
A lot of stickers.
But at least you can drive one and see if you like it.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea to rent something that you want to own, and I think that's a good idea. And then we'll talk about Kia. They have released pricing on their hot, never cooling Telluride SUV. People are waiting in line for these paying over sticker, and whoever thought that would happen to a Kia, Les Jackson? I mean, you don't think it would happen.
No, but when it came out, now it's 3 years ago, it was just a hit right away.
Right off the bat, yeah.
It hasn't cooled down. And we have a Talking Tech segment. This time we're going to talk about external airbags for pedestrian safety.
Now, wait a minute, is that a story about politicians? Airbags? External airbags?
That's windbag.
Okay. All right. So this is external airbags. We'll tell you about that.
Right.
Who has put a patent in, and
It's a big puffy
yeah.
thing on the front of your car.
And then we're going to do an As the Tesla Turns follow-up. One government agency says, please don't use your Cybertruck, as if you could get one, as a boat. If you recall, last week we talked about how it can be used as a boat for a while.
What a stupid statement.
Yeah. And then you're going to have a review, at the wheel review of a cool Mini, right?
Of the 2023 Mini Cooper SE Electric.
Yeah, we'll tell you about that and a whole lot more when we come back on Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. I'm Fred Staub. He is Les Jackson. Check us out at cruisecontrolradio.com. We'll be right back.
Cruise Control.
And welcome back to Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. Fred Staub and Les Jackson with you here, as we always are. Don't forget to check us out on all our social platforms, including YouTube and Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that and more. You know, you and I were talking during the break, Les Jackson, and we're going to do a story now on Toyota and the head of Toyota, Akio Toyoda, Y-O-D-A,
Right.
as
The
opposed
family name is Toyoda.
as opposed to Toyota, T-O-Y-O-T-A. And we got to thinking, why would you change the name? It's so close. It almost sounds the same when you say it, at least in English. So the main reason they changed it was T in Japanese. Toyota in Japanese uses 10 strokes of the pen to write, where Toyota, as we know it, how it's spelled, uses 8, and 8 is considered a lucky number in Japanese culture.
Whatever works.
Yeah, I often wondered that. I was like, well, that's Toyota. It's very close.
Awfully close.
Yeah.
Well, but if you think about how many times it's written.
Yeah, I guess so. And 8 is a lucky number, like 7 is a lucky number here.
Right.
So let's talk about what Akio Toyoda said about Toyota. He had a recent press conference, and he was talking about recent legislation, state of California, New York, some others, talking about getting rid of new or not selling new internal combustion engines by 2030. And he really gave a great response to this. I mean, you and I, probably of many automotive journalists, we are pretty positive on electric vehicles, right? But
Well, we are, but we are very aware of what the current limitations are.
Oh,
The
you-
current,
I
no,
love-
no pun intended.
I
by
love
way.
the pun, though. I do.
Yeah.
I do love the pun. Yeah, and the cars are great. They drive well. They could use more range, and certainly the biggest thing is recharging them takes too long and
Yep.
hard to find, and
And
makes
hard to find an empty one.
it hard,
when you do find
or a
one.
working one. Sometimes you can find an empty one,
Yeah.
but it's not working. So you drive all this way to get to the charger, and then it's not working. So
Yep.
those are the big problems. When they can give you 400 miles of range and charge it up just in the same roughly time frame as you would a gas car, I think people would really die. And the price, though, also right
Well,
now, the price.
But that but that'll come down.
That will
just as
adjust.
the price of cell phone batteries came down,
and cell
keep
phones
coming down.
in general, yeah.
So, that I think will happen before everything else happens.
Yeah.
But none of this is going to happen tomorrow. It's going to be 15 years away.
Yeah, not by 2030, I don't think. I really don't. But let's get to some of his quotes. This is Akio Toyoda. Realistically speaking, he says, it seems rather difficult to really achieve these goals, meaning by 2030, just selling electric vehicles. He said in a roundtable interview with Reuters, but just like the fully autonomous cars that we are all supposed to be driving by now, battery electric vehicles are just going to take longer to become mainstream than the media would like us to believe. And I think that's fair. I mean, they're hyping them, and local news drives me crazy because they just say stuff it's wrong, and it's just it's like it's like just jumping to a full conclusion. Well, the electric cars are available for sale, so that's fine.
Yep, there you are.
But he sees a future as battery electric vehicles, plug-in hybrid electric vehicles, hydrogen cell vehicles, and I think that is certainly the better approach. All will be cleaner, all will be more efficient, right?
Oh, absolutely, or you won't be able to buy them.
Yeah. I mean, look at what I drove, and I'm going to review later on. I had a Rav4 all-wheel drive uh, CUV, and it got 40 miles to the gallon easily. That's great.
Which is that's terrific,
Yeah,
especially these days where gas is 3.50 a gallon or more.
yeah. Well, we'll talk more about what the head of Toyota said, and we'll kick it around a little bit more when we come back on Cruise Control. Also coming up, we'll tell you about Ford Maverick, that mini pickup truck that's super hot, and the Kia Telluride, that big SUV that's super hot. So super hot vehicles coming up on Cruise Control.
Cruise Control.
Welcome back to Cruise Control. Les and Fred here, and we were talking before the break about Toyota's head guy, Akio Toyoda,
Yeah.
and he's kind of bristled a few neck hairs on the on the auto industry.
Oh man,
by,
my neck hairs.
yes, whatever the
The
hair
stuff
on the
back
back
there.
of your
Yeah, yeah.
stands up when you. Anyway, and we agree with him. We said that things are not happening overnight. And what I really like about his summing up of the issue, before we talk about a battery they're working on, he said that the auto industry is like a container ship. It takes a long time to change direction and doesn't cope particularly well with sudden changes.
Yeah.
And that we've covered this industry for 30 years,
Yeah.
and boy, is that true.
I agree. I agree. And I think it's done a lot to change. I think cars and trucks are some of the most improved products
Oh,
out
incredible.
there, compared to, I mean,
With
I'll give you an
the
example.
exception of one manufacturer.
Well, yeah, we'll get into that
Well, wait,
later.
wait, wait, wait.
I'll tell you this. I mean, I had my window open yesterday, and I went by, and there was a guy that has an old Volvo in town, in nice shape. He was sitting there idling. As I went past his car, I could smell it
Yep,
compared to the other ones,
sure.
and I thought, you don't smell really any exhaust unless it's
No,
something that's not running correctly today. But this car, I could smell it as I came by it, and as I drove off, I could still smell it. So they're much improved. But let's talk a little bit about Toyota and solid state batteries. This would be amazing. Basically, a solid state battery is what, a capacitor, would you call it?
well, it could be a capacitor. It could just be a quantum effect. It's like think of a transistor,
Mm-hmm.
but instead of amplifying signals, it could actually hold energy.
What would it mean in a sense that it could be charged faster
It would be charged virtually instantaneously.
and it would also probably never lose its charge as it got older, right? Less,
Probably not. Again, I think it would have depend on how it's used and how it's abused, actually.
yeah,
Um,
and
but it's like it's the equivalent of the change in computers from hard drives to SSD
wow,
drives.
and that was a great change.
Massive,
You
massive
don't have to
improvement.
wait for a eternity for your
Yeah,
um, computer to boot up. So,
and
uh,
that will be the difference. And Toyota has 1,331 solid state battery patents.
right. So before anyone goes getting their neck hairs twisted into a knot and
Yeah,
says Toyota's doing nothing, they're against electric vehicles and they just want to make big trucks or something like that. Don't get it twisted because they're working on a technology that could potentially, if you can, pull in somewhere, you stick a socket in the back of your vehicle and
yep,
almost instantaneously you're charged, completely charged with,
that's right.
I
Before
mean,
you can go in to the to the service center and use the bathroom and get a cup of coffee, it's charged and ready to go.
I'll tell you this. How about this? You drive past something like an Easy Pass, like what we have in the
Oh,
Northeast,
inductive.
at 60 miles an hour, and boom, your vehicle's charged, and you're automatically.
Yes,
I'm living
I
in a future
I
world.
actually calculated that what the magnetic field would have to be,
Uh
and the problem is it would lift the car.
huh.
It's a great idea,
As
Fred.
an added bonus. Okay, well,
Yeah,
even if what about this? Even if you just pulled off to the road, you're all kind of like a way station, like a truck,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
you pull up, and they're like, "Stop the vehicle," and you're charged up, and off you go. What about
That's
that?
right. That I I can see that happening.
Yeah. So don't say that Toyota's not working on this. I think they
No,
feel the current state. It's sort of like many companies. They see the current technology, and then they don't invest in that. They're like, we're going to look at what people do with this, what mistakes they make, and we're going to come out with something better. If
yeah. I
they
mean,
do that, they'll own
those
the auto industry. They really
those
will.
are a decision. The decisions that you make in this kind of thing, reflect billions and billions of dollars. You can't afford to screw up.
I'm very excited now about the solid state batteries because I think that would
Me too.
really. But keep in mind too, energy has to be made somehow. That electricity. So
Exactly.
yeah. Well, let's.
One way is regenerative braking, coasting down hills, and we'll talk about that later.
Yes. Absolutely. So let's move on to the Ford Maverick. Maverick is a small pickup truck. It was sold elsewhere in the world. They brought it to the U.S. and they have a runaway hit. Problem is, they can't they can't build them fast enough. So the order books open up in September. They're closed, September 15th. Let's say they're closed by the end of September, right?
Right.
That's got to be annoying. But there's a little bit of a price hike on the 2023 Ford Maverick. No surprise there. And the 2023 XLT and Lariat models are priced from $24,455 and $27,955
It's still pretty reasonable.
for any vehicle if you can get away under that. Yeah. More power, of course, the 250 horsepower 2-liter EcoBoost engine. That's a pretty big step up of $2,220. Remember too that takes the hybrid system out, right? That is no longer a
Right.
hybrid.
Right. Now it's still economical, but it's not a hybrid.
Yeah. Yeah, and then they have the Tremor package, which is sort of their off-road high-end package. So if you tick all the boxes, get the Tremor package and all the add-ons, I think you're looking at somewhere around $36,000 for a Ford Maverick.
Yeah. Well, you're looking at that anyway. if
Yes.
you if you can find one to buy.
Yeah, that's the problem. If you can't find one to buy, what does it matter? But let's say you want to drive one, Les Jackson. You just can't find one on the dealer lots. They don't even have a demo. They're selling them all out. Well, a Ford Maverick was spotted at the U-Haul lot, at a U-Haul lot in Florida. Of course, it is the base model, and it's got the U-Haul graphics on the side. But for $19.95 a day in town, you can drive one and check it out. You can even haul crap around in it.
I recommend you do that. If you have any interest in one, I had one for a week,
Uh-huh.
as we get for our test cars, and it was thoroughly enjoyable.
Wow. And it had enough room for storage, and it had
Plenty.
and it was a nice interior, and yeah.
Yep, very nice, different color interior, quiet, smooth.
And you had the hybrid, I guess, right?
I
The
had the
hybrid
hybrid,
model.
right.
Yeah.
I drove it over 200 miles.
Yeah. A lot of people are wondering when they'll do the hybrid with all-wheel drive, and I think that's a good question because that would be a nice setup.
I, no, they're not going to do anything until they can
Sell you
physically
one.
make.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got what, a 250,000 orders
Something like that.
they have to fill.
The hybrid gets great mileage. 42 miles per gallon city,
Yeah.
33 highway, 37 combined. That's pretty amazing.
As you might remember, when I reviewed it, I got like 44.
That's crazy. That's crazy in a good way. So, hey, when we come back, we got plenty more to go. We're going to tell you about Kia pricing out its full-size Telluride. We got the numbers on that. We're going to talk tech about pedestrian safety. And Les is going to have an at-the-wheel review of the Mini Electric. So stay tuned.
Cruise Control.
And welcome back to Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. Fred Staub and Les Jackson. We are glad you're along for the ride. Let's get into the vehicle that has basically ignited a fire at Kia America. As our friend James Bell from Kia says, I wish every vehicle was a Kia Telluride that we sell, because I think this is one of the first vehicles that became so popular that people just, they just can't get enough of it. They can't get it, and they're willing to do anything to get it. But
I mean, the orders are exceeding the production capacity.
Yeah.
Which is never good for striking a deal.
No.
So if you can get one, and that's the problem. Everybody interested in that size of SUV wants one.
Yeah. And, they start, for a large vehicle, they start at $35,690 for front-wheel drive Telluride LX. That's amazing for that big a vehicle, I have to say.
It is quite reasonable for big.
Yeah.
However,
if you want all-wheel drive, $37,690, not bad. And it's interesting. I've seen some of these less, more basic models of Tellurides lately. I guess initially you couldn't get the base model. It just, people wanted to move on up, and you would move up into the S model for $37,590 for the front-wheel drive, all-wheel drive, which is interesting. If this is correct, all-wheel drive says it's $35,590. It's less. That might be a mistake on the part of Kia, because this is coming right off there.
Yeah,
I don't know why all-wheel drive would be less, but anyway, Telluride EX, $41,290, $43,290 for all-wheel drive, and you can get the X line. X line is their more robust-looking model. Like many manufacturers have done this. They've taken these near off-roaders and made them a little bit more off-road, like Subaru Wilderness. They've raised it up a little bit. That would be still pretty affordable for a large vehicle. X-Line all-wheel drive, $45,485. When you're up into this EX category, remember, Kia does a great job of putting just about everything into these vehicles. So if you're up in an EX category and just you're below 45,000 if you don't get the X line, you've got a pretty well-equipped vehicle, don't you?
Pretty much anything you would think of that you would want. Beyond that, there are just a lot of gadgets and gigas and doodads that most people don't feel they need, but and trim items. And if you want to go higher,
we can.
There's the SX Prestige.
Yeah, that's the top of the range, only in all-wheel drive.
Right.
And X-Line all-wheel drive, SX Prestige, and then X Pro all-wheel drive, $52,785. Still,
well,
large vehicle, but not. That's not terrible these days. Also, you have to add in $1,335 destination on these. On all these prices.
That's right. Yeah, be ready for sticker shock. And you're not going to get it for that price anyway, because they're in demand, plus the chip shortage. So the dealers are going to be tacking on $3,000, $4,000, $5,000
at least,
because they can.
Because they can, and people are willing to pay it. So if they're willing to pay it, Let's talk a little tech. This involves front airbags. Ford's got a patent. This is from Car Buzz. They have their actually, it was discovered by Motor Authority, but the article was in Car Buzz.
Right.
And they are talking about pedestrian airbags. Now, about 10 years ago, Volvo debuted a pedestrian airbag, and I believe Saab did too, where it would blow up under the hood and tilt the hood up, like so to make it sort of like you wouldn't
Right.
smash into the windshield. It was like you know what it's like? It's like, you would know this, like an aircraft carrier blast shield. It comes up
Yeah.
like this,
Comes up,
and then it folds
keeps
down.
you it now bear in mind that if it has to come up, the car is hitting you,
Yeah.
but instead of breaking your knees and you slamming against the hood, it props you up and
Like a
keeps you
deflector.
alive.
Like a deflector.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It will not be a pleasant thing.
No, and even this system, which involves airbags externally that will blow out and cushion the hood and all that, they say it will reduce injuries by 40%, which, if you have to be injured, I'll take any reduction.
Absolutely.
But this is for Ford. They're talking about with trucks. Now, remember, you say, well, why? First off, wouldn't the truck brake for a pedestrian? Could.
If you see it.
Ford is also looking into technology with Bluetooth. It senses the Bluetooth and the phone, and will stop the vehicle. But sometimes things don't work. I've been in vehicles. It's raining, and it says the front sensor is obscured. Not available at this time. So this would basically inflate around the front of the hood. And you say, well, why don't we make them all slanted in the front? Well, that would, that affects things like aerodynamics and all that and design. So they want to keep the design in the cars, but keep them from damaging pedestrians that walk out in front of you, right?
Absolutely. Still upwards around 8,000 pedestrians every year are killed um, by being hit or walking into or in front of a vehicle. So, this is a big deal.
Yeah. Do you think it's something we'll see mandated down the line?
I believe so. I know that NHTSA, National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, is looking into that, just as they are any other safety device,
Mm-hmm.
such as noise generators for electric cars,
Mm-hmm.
so that when they're making a turn, speaking of which, the pedestrian can hear them. Otherwise, they don't hear the electric car.
Oh,
Right?
that's a real thing, even if you're not
It's a big
visually
deal.
or hearing impaired.
And the next thing to go is right turn on red.
Oh, you think they might stop it?
They're gonna stop it. All European countries have stopped it.
Really? Interesting.
And the reason is the density of pedestrians these days.
Mm-hmm.
What corner have you gone to make a right where there wasn't a pedestrian either walking across against the light or even with the light?
You know what we
And
have here? This is bizarre. Self-entitled pedestrians that walk out in
yes,
the middle of the street,
of course,
don't look,
yes.
think like, they just pop out between two cars in the middle of the street and expect you to somehow, deploy your bat chute and stop.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. So right turn on red was wonderful for 30 to 40 years, but it doesn't work anymore.
Well, and the idea was that it would save gas because you wouldn't be sitting there.
And keep traffic moving, but traffic isn't moving because you have to wait for the pedestrian who knows that nationally pedestrians on the road surface have the right of way no matter where they are, whether they're at a crosswalk or not.
Mm,
You have to stop.
interesting. Hey, let's get to our As the Tesla Turns follow-up.
Oh boy.
This is so basically this comes from the Washington State Department of Natural Resources. They issued a warning on Twitter cautioning Tesla fans and prospective owners against using the Cybertruck as a boat. Not that anyone can, but well, of course this was a
Yeah.
must statement last week. where he said it's waterproof enough to serve briefly as a boat, so you can cross rivers, lakes, and even seas that aren't too choppy. Crossing a sea is not brief, I would say.
No.
Uh, so the agency in Washington State said our derelict vessel crews are begging you to understand that anything that serves briefly as a boat should not be used as a boat. This was
Uh,
accompanied by an image of a stranded vehicle trapped in flooded waters. So
it's
there
it's
you have it.
just so silly.
Well, here's what's not silly. We've got an At the Wheel review coming up. Les Jackson is at the wheel of the Mini SE Electric. That's going to be coming up after the break, so stay tuned for more Cruise Control.
Cruise Control.
Hey, welcome back to Cruise Control. As promised, I'm going to give an at-the-wheel review of the 2023 Mini Cooper SE Electric. Now, Fred, going back in our memories, about 12 years or so, we were at an event up in the Poconos called Spring Break, and Mini unveiled their electric Mini, their prototype.
Prototype, yeah, it had.
And as I recall, you were driving,
Yeah,
and we went up the steep hill,
right.
and then we turned around and headed down. And when you lifted off of the accelerator, we both actually thought the brakes had locked themselves on.
Yes. Yeah.
We
heavy regenerative braking.
heavy deceleration. I mean, we were thrown forward. It was not pleasant.
Also, the battery took up the whole rear seat.
It did.
It was like a shelf back there and a
Yeah.
gigantic battery.
So anyway, I took charge of this Mini. All Minis are a hoot to drive.
Yeah, they all have that in their DNA.
Short wheelbase, great acceleration, spectacular handling. So I jumped in. I've driven Minis, and we don't read owner's manuals because we're just familiar with all these cars. So I jumped in, ran right out into traffic. By the way, this one is white, silver, metallic. Nice color, with a cloth leatherette, light chocolate interior.
Sounds tasty.
Well, think of a Mini, just that shape and that look with all that. Everybody noticed it. Anyway, I jumped out in traffic, and the light ahead was turned red, and so I decided to slow down and let go of the gas. Guess what? Same thing. I just thought, oh, come on.
You can shut that off. There's a paddle for it. I believe a paddle.
Well, yes, but there's another way, and that is you now have three and a half driving levels.
Okay.
So there's Sport, Mild, Green, and Green Star. Green Star is just
star for the day.
More green. So if you put it on Mild, it cuts that regenerative braking by about 2/3.
Oh, that's pretty aggressive.
So it's kind of like a regular electric car. So I had to do that because, wow. Now, the reason they do it the other way is because the battery is not very big, and it's got a range of 110 miles.
Wow. So that is like the early compliance cars, basically.
But this is 2022.
I agree.
So I said, well, that can't be. It's got 110 miles left from when they delivered it from Baltimore. No, it has 110 miles. And I happened to be visiting a friend down in Fredericksburg, Virginia, which is 45 miles from D.C. here. And I drove down, and I barely made it back.
Wow. Did you have to charge?
It was worrisome.
You didn't charge. You didn't. Yeah.
No. I had like 8 miles left on.
Now, where'd you charge it? Did you charge?
Well, there's the other thing. I've been getting a lot of electrics, so I know where some Charge Point and EV Go chargers are.
Right.
But in this one, I just charged it in my house, 120 volt overnight.
Yeah.
And it only does 3 miles of driving per hour.
Yeah, 3 to 5.
20 volts. It's about 12 amps is all it's taking. So
Yep.
you need to put it on a charge system, and there's an apartment building behind me, and they have one charger. And I called their management. They said, "No, sure, plug it in." And I left it on, and that's a level 2. It's not even a level 3.
So now you're
So
getting 12 to 20
you're
miles.
getting 14 kilowatts as opposed to 38
Okay.
kilowatts or more. So it, I left it on 5 hours. I didn't want to, hog the thing all night. So I got it back up to like 90 miles. That became for the week I had it, that became kind of a daily thing.
Yeah. No, I
And
I
it
agree
was
with you.
irritating.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with you. I've had that feeling where I've taken some like 100-mile trip, and I'm always thinking about it. You know, it
Yeah.
it
Well,
really, and this was on a vehicle that had 260 miles. You know, you
yeah.
still think about
So,
it.
and this, you're just going, who are they marketing this thing to? Now, the good news is the 2024s, which will go on sale next year, will have a 250 range battery.
Yeah, that is the floor basically for me as
But,
far as an electric
why are they
vehicle.
bothering with this right now? It seems to me that this can turn off people.
Well, I think it's kind of still a compliance car. Remember where you had certain
Yeah,
states had that? You had the Fiat 500 with 80 miles, 90 miles.
that's right.
Yeah,
Which was,
which is
eh,
fine if hey, if you say, hey, I need to go to the train station every day, and the train
sure.
station is 3, 4 miles away.
Right. The metro station here is 3 miles away. That'd be, just great. By the way, let me just quickly talk about it. It's really fun to drive
Oh
because,
yeah,
it's a mini and you put an electric motor in there. It just goes like the hammers of hell when you stand on it.
I would
Uh,
autocross it. That would be
oh, yeah,
great for autocrossing because it has
it
all the
would.
weight down low and it has instant acceleration.
Instant power.
Yeah.
This came with the driver assistance package, which is a bunch of stuff, parking assistance, heads up display, which I love, um, e-drive, so you can use just the gas pedal
I like that. Are
to
you a
drive
one
it. For
peddler?
traffic,
Uh,
yes, but not,
I'm a one peddler. I'll fall into that.
yep. Remote services, which I never quite understood what that was. Um, a bunch of other nice things, and everything else in the car was included in the price. This was the $950 option. So it's got a heat pump, typical of electric. So you have instant heat, instant air conditioning. Fast charging is included if you can find a fast charger, as is Sirius XM.
Okay.
And a beautiful Harman Kardon stereo system, real nice. Um, Also, you if you're charging at home and you have a home charger, your fuel costs for driving 12,000 miles a year will be $650.
That's great.
That means in 5 years, they figure you save almost $5,000 in fuel costs over a regular car.
Hmm.
That's assuming you're charging at home. If you're charging at a charge spot that isn't free,
Mm-hmm.
you're paying about 3 times the electric rate.
Wow.
So, but that's, it's a business.
Yeah.
You got to drive a Mini to appreciate a Mini. They're just fun. Everybody smiles.
What's the price, I would say?
Okay, not bad, not bad. Everything, including the $850 destination charge, which is at least not insulting, is 35,700.
Not bad for an electric car. Plus, you can
Not
still
bad.
get. Can you still get the federal
I th- I
discount on
think
the Mini?
so because Mini is Mini. It's not
Yep.
BMW, for those purposes. So yeah, I think so. Should be 28.
That's a fun car for $28,000.
It is.
Hey, we thank you for that at the wheel review. Time for you to say, I'm Fred Staub.
I'm Les Jackson.
We're going to see you down the road.